This tutorial is meant to show you some of the basics of creating curves in Unigraphics. Before we begin, a useful tool Unigraphics offers is the ability to change the viewing plane. You can do this by going to the View option in the menu bar and choosing Layout, then Replace View. Here, we'll choose Top View, as this sets the current line of sight to one normal to the global XY plane, which is where curves will be drawn. The Replace View command is also available by right-clicking with your mouse. Another option is to choose the View icon in the top taskbar. We can now begin modeling our curves. To start, click on the Insert menu from the top of the screen, then choose Curve and Line. When creating our lines, we'll turn off the associative output, which will make it easier to edit the curves later on. You can now draw a line by clicking the area of the screen where you'd like to position the first point on the line, and then clicking again where you'd like the line to end. Once you are satisfied, you can either choose Apply to continue creating lines, or choose the OK button to end the command. Also, when you're creating lines, note the box near your cursor which displays the line length. You can set this length by simply typing a number in this box from your keyboard and pressing Enter. Before you choose Apply, you can easily edit your lines by clicking and dragging the green handles. Also, clicking on the arrows keeps the line oriented, but changes the length in the current direction. The constraint options may be used to help you in inputting locations for start and end points. They can allow you to snap to locations with respect to existing entities. These locations can be endpoints, midpoints, intersections, etc. The options available are set by toggling the buttons on the icon menu on the left side of the screen. By selecting the appropriate buttons, you can specify which choices are allowed when selecting your start and end point. A couple of constraint options are also available within the Line Creator dialog box. These constraints apply to the line's start and end point respectively. Here, you can force your line tangent to another object, or parallel or at an angle to one of the coordinate directions. The third button at the top of the dialog box controls the plane in which the line will be drawn. Note the shaded plane representation shown when one of the principal coordinate planes, for example the XZ or the YZ plane, is selected. Also note that this option can be difficult to use unless our viewing plane is oriented in the same direction as this drawing plane. Now we'll move on to the Arc and Circle command. This command is also found under the Insert drop-down. When you choose this command, the default for creating an arc is to choose a start point, an end point, and allow the radius to be determined by the third point. After choosing all 3 points, you may also change your arc by using a few commands in the dialog box. One example is the Complementary Solutions option, which will return the complement of the displayed arc. Another option is to choose to make the arc a full circle. As in the line, you can also just grab the handles and drag the endpoints or radius with your mouse. Also, as in the Line command, the Arc command allows you to constrain the endpoints. For example, points can be constrained to be tangent to a pre-existing arc. After choosing this option, you simply need to select the arc you would like the new arc to be tangent to. You may then be faced with more than one solution which would fulfill the required tangency. You can examine these options by clicking the Cycle Alternate Solutions button. Another option is to create a center-based arc. This option is available at the top of the Arc Constructor dialog box. Here, the center and the radius of the arc are specified, and the length of the arc can be dragged by the green handles. There are several ways to delete curves. One option is to pick the entities you want to select first, then choose the Delete icon from the menu bar. This deletes objects immediately. Other options are available by going to the Edit menu, or by choosing the icon in the taskbar while no objects are highlighted. You can then choose entities you want to delete and click the green check to delete them. Note that the red X cancels the command. You can choose multiple entities at once by clicking an area of the screen and dragging your mouse to create a rectangle. You can change the settings for this method by choosing the class selection dialog on the left of the Delete dialog box. Here, under Rectangle Polygon Method, you can choose whether you wish to include areas inside, outside, or crossing the rectangle you create. Notice that from this dialog box, you can also invert your current choices by clicking the box entitled All But Selected. You can also choose to select all. If you'd ever like to unpick an entity, click on the entity while simultaneously holding down the Shift button on your keyboard. We will now go back and revisit some more curves options. Another way to create lines and circles is given under the Basic Curves command, either from the symbol of the circle and line on the icon bar, or from the Insert drop-down. This command allows you to create different types of curves depending on which box you select from the top of the dialog window. In Basic Curves, the default is String Mode, which links entities together at endpoints so that you will have to choose Break String to start a new string of entities. Or you can simply middle-click with your mouse if this button is highlighted. You can also uncheck the box to turn String Mode off. Unlike the first curve command, this command allows you to create curves in 3D space. If you simply click points on the screen, the curve will remain in the work plane you selected. However, you can apply the curve in 3D by using the point constructor under the constraint options in the dialog box. The command line will then prompt you to enter coordinate values for the required points. It will also allow you to choose a point based on the constraints selected. Other constraints exist for basic curves as well, and are similar to those shown earlier. However, note that here, with the intersection method, as the command line tells us, both intersecting entities must be chosen, rather than just the intersecting point. Choosing Cancel will close the Basic Curve dialog box. One more option for creating curves is to go to the Insert drop-down and choose Curve, then the option Lines and Arcs. Here you will find several methods for creating lines and arcs. The names tell you how the entity will be created. For example, the Arc Point Point Tangent command allows you to create an arc by specifying two endpoints and an object to which it will be tangent. Middle-clicking with your mouse will end these commands. It is possible to edit the way curves are displayed by choosing Edit, then Object Display from the top menu drop-down. First, choose the curves you wish to affect, then click the green check. Now you can change the color of selected objects, as well as the line type. You can make lines dotted or dashed, as well as change the line thickness. Click Apply to accept changes and OK or Cancel to exit. Other viewing options can be accessed from the Work Plane option under the Preferences drop-down. The work plane you will be changing the preference for is the current XY plane. Here you can set the grid on or off, as well as set the cursor to snap to the grid you've specified. Choose Apply to execute your changes. Here you can also change the grid spacing or set the grid to polar coordinates. Note that even with the snap option set, point method constraints such as snap to endpoint and snap to midpoint take preference. Therefore, snap to grid is most effective when using the inferred or cursor location point methods for constraints. Finally, there are just a few more options in the Insert Curve menu to note. The rectangle dialog box is much like that of basic curves. Choosing two opposite corners will completely define your rectangle. You can also make regular polygons through the Insert Curve command. Simply choose the number of sides you wish, then specify an option for defining its size. You can either define the radius of a theoretical circle in which it could be inscribed around, the length of one side, or the radius of a circle it would be circumscribed within. After you've selected an option, you must choose the dimension value as well as the orientation angle, measured counterclockwise in degrees. The default of 0 will orient the polygon with a corner at 0 degrees to the x-axis. Then, simply choose a point for the center of the polygon. There are certainly more commands available when creating curves in Unigraphics. Try experimenting with them yourself until you are comfortable with the options.